Hi, I'm Jesseline. This is going to be over graphing linear functions. So the first one we are going to graph is, let's look here. So we're going to graph y equals 2x plus 8. Let's just graph this one. Y equals 2x plus 8. So this is what we call slope-intercept form. And anytime you graph it, you kind of want to put it in slope-intercept form just because it's the easiest. So what you're going to do is you're going to solve for y in any equation. So solving literal equations, so solving for a variable. So if you don't know how to solve for a variable, go and learn that concept first. But so solving for y, we have it here. This is in slope-intercept form, which the 2 tells us our slope. So that our slope is 2. And then the 8 tells us our y-intercept. So our y-intercept is 8. So y-intercept equals 8. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to first graph the y-intercept because that's what we can use to do our slope. So the y-intercept is 8, it's positive 8, so that means here's our 0, 0. Again, if you don't know how to graph points, go and watch the video on graphing coordinate points. But 0, 0, and the y-intercept, this is the y-axis, it will go up to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let me do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Probably should have picked a lower number there. And so our graph is a slope of 2. So I'm going to extend this right there. Our graph is a slope of 2. So that means really 2 over 1. And remember, it's rise over run. If you can't remember the slope, remember like sitting in a chair. You have to rise out of a chair before you can take off running. And so that's something how I remember it. So if you just have a 2, you can always put it over 1 because 2 divided by 1 is just 2. So I'm not changing the value of it. So rise over run. So that means we rise 2 and run 1. And since it's a positive 2, we're going up and then running to the right. Since it's a positive 1. So from this point, we rise 2 and we run 1, and it'd go right there. Okay, we ran out of space here, but I'm going to show you the other way because we can go down, because since these are both positive, if I make them both negative, it's still the same thing because we know a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So if I make them both negative, still doing the same things. But negative 2 means we go down 1, and negative 1 means we go to the left 1. So, I mean down 2, sorry, down 2. So from here, if we make them both negative, we'll go down 2 and over 1. And you should see that they're lining up in a line because these are linear equations, and linear means straight line. So we can continue to do that, 1, 2, over 1. Down over 1, and we can continue to do that. You actually only need like 2 points to see where the line's going. We can graph it there, and this is the line y equals 2x plus 8. Okay, so let's do another one. Let me erase this. Well, this board is amazing. I love it. Okay, so now let's do this. X plus 2y is equal to 6. Okay, x plus 2y is equal to 6. If you notice, it's not solved for y. It's not in y equals mx plus b form. So the first thing we want to do is solve for y. So again, this is kind of combining solving for variables in an equation. If you need more practice, there's a specific video on that. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to take you through the steps. The first thing, if I want to solve for y, the first thing I want to do is get rid of this x. Okay, well, it's a positive x, so I'm subtracting x from both sides. So subtracting x from both sides, because x minus x, that'd give you 0, because anything minus itself gives you a 0. 4 minus 4, 25 minus 25. So now I'm left with 2y equals 6 minus x. Still want to solve for this y. Inverse operation, so we're going to divide both sides by 2. Divide both sides by 2, and we have to divide each term on this side by 2. So we get y is equal to 6 divided by 2 is 3, and then minus x divided by 2, there's nothing there, so it's just x divided by 2 still. But remember that x has a 1 in front of it, because a 1 is understood anytime there's no coefficient in front of the variable. So if I just had a y, 1's understood. Okay, so that's 1y. We just never write the 1 because it looks kind of silly. Okay, so we do have a 1 in front of that x, so you can write 1/2 and then have the x too, because that's the slope, right? And if we want to write it in slope-intercept form, we can switch that around. Y equals negative 1/2 x, and then that's a positive 3. So plus 3. This right here and this right here are the same thing. I just switched the order of the x and the number. And if you notice, the 3 is positive, but the 1/2 has that subtraction sign or the negative sign, so I have to put it there. But now we can graph it. Remember, the 3 is our y-intercept. So here's our 0, 0, 3. So we go up 3, 1, 2, 3. That's our y-intercept. And our slope is negative 1/2. So when we have negative 1/2, I have to determine where to give that negative. I usually give it to the top number, because remember, the negative tells us which direction we go, up, down, left, or right, depending on which number I give it to. So I have negative 1/2. Remember, that's rise over run. So I gave the negative to the top one. So rise is up or down, but since it's negative, we're gonna go down 1. And the run is left or right, and since it's positive, we're going to the right 2. So down 1 to the right 2. So down 1 to the right 2, down 1 to the right 2. Okay, and then we can see that that line is x plus 2y is equal to 6, because I want to name it by the original name that I did. So that is how you graph linear equations. Hopefully you learned something there. Thank you.